I opened my eyes. He still saw that the system had congratulated him on becoming a merchant, and he realized that he was still a merchant, and died once, but still a merchant. Desperate that even here he's a failure and time will run out and he won't get another chance to change roles. And the fact that this is his last chance. Without a second thought, he sprinted and jumped straight through the window. And while the notification system was showing him that he was seconds away from resending, he was already flying straight down. And yet he didn't understand why fate is so unfair and there are so many opportunities, but he still can't reach. And he's bullied all the time, and he works for everyone to pay his debts. But still, he couldn't understand what he had done wrong. After all, he simply wants to change his destiny, and he doesn't want to become a loser again. He will end it and end this fate of being a loser. You're the last chance he's got right now. And as soon as he died and the notification system reappeared and showed that identity and role restoration was underway, but suddenly different errors began to appear and our hero's body began to glow with a bright light. And once the identity was successfully restored, the player's role was randomly selected and the countdown began to end. But then a new task appeared which was called Live. This was followed by many notifications that he had gotten the Ironhead achievement, and the system congratulated him on acquiring the role of Gold Merchant and Warrior. As Song-an finally came to his senses, he realized that he had succeeded. Fate finally smiled on him and he got that last chance he'd been dreaming of. He got his long-awaited role, the hardest dual role in this game. But he was shocked that he got the Iron Head achievement, and he was surprised that he died and got the achievement. I look at the notification window. He saw that the merchants have a bonus to experience, and apparently it is guaranteed not only at the beginning and also exclusive warrior skills, enhancement of all attributes by percent. And the speed of obtaining resources is increased by percent, and he can create equipment and props. He finally got exactly the start the protagonist should have had, and fortune didn't give up on him. But there was just one problem: his glasses were broken, and it seems they broke and when he jumped into the creature, but somehow there was no god to rid him of his nearsightedness. And now he couldn't figure out where he could find another pair of glasses to take them off, and realized that it wasn't as bad as it seemed. On the next notification that appeared began to distract him that a mission monster had been detected and danger was now near. He needed to be careful. But he realized what could be scary at the beginning of the game, because with a non-Nash they wouldn't have a problem with it. But raising his head, he saw a huge monster that was coming at him with all the speed, and notices kept appearing over and over again that it was too dangerous in that place. The demon leader has appeared and his danger is very high, and the level is unknown. Raising his head, Song-an realized that this was no longer funny, and he had to get out of here as soon as possible, and he certainly won't be bragging about it in the future. Turning around, he started to run away at full speed as he realized he had to get away before he was killed again. And while he was running away, the notification system reappeared, showing him that his #1 task was to survive until the end of time, and there was 1 hour left, and he had to be careful. If he was killed by the monster, he would really die. But Hiro couldn't understand why more and more monsters were appearing. But thank God the biggest one can't get into the building or he'd be dead by now. And the fact that he thinks there's some game restriction preventing him from entering, and now his problem, it's these devils chasing him. These minions of the devil who had a level. And for our hero, they are very much now. After all, there is no way he can fight them even with a battle level increase, and he should get a weapon as soon as possible. But when he turned his attention back to Demon, he realized the devil was looking at him like shit. But suddenly he heard a familiar voice shouting from afar to get away from him, and it didn't take him long to realize it was that bald Dick, his former supervisor, and he and the other guys were running away from the monsters. I don't understand where these demons came from. They saw them right in front of their noses as soon as they woke up, and that if they didn't run away they would have died right away. But at some point, the two saw Song-an and they couldn't believe he was alive. Song An was getting angry because they just ran away from the monsters like plucked chickens but still laughing at him. The other guy and his supervisor began to discuss that they should not run to Song An because there are many monsters behind him. As soon as they all started running away together, one of the guys started telling our hero that it's all his fault he created the monsters and let them in here. But the hero couldn't understand why he was yelling at him so loudly. The head of the same continued to reproach our hero that his lord brought him together with such a scum like him. These humiliations weren't enough, and the executives kept yelling at our hero to do something about it, or they'd all die here. But Song An realized that if his memory serves him correctly, there must be a shelter somewhere around here. And he saw the door that leads to the room. He thought about it, but he realized it wasn't the right one. The place he hid must be more special. But after looking through the next few rooms, he finally found the right hiding place. And as he continued to run, he unlocked that door they're looking for. They're standing across the street. But the leader and the other guy running away from the monsters could not understand whether he is really stupid, because in front of them is just a wall song, and continued to insist on his own to finally trust him. And with all speed, they flew straight into the wall and began to move into the secret room. The notification system immediately started showing them that they had gone to the shelter as soon as they appeared on the other side of the wall on the body to rejoice, for they did not believe that they could escape. The monsters that chased them stayed on the other side of the wall and laid out in a bonfire and not still hoped that these guys would come out of the same wall they ran away in. One of the guys saw the monsters through the wall and couldn't believe those monsters couldn't see them. Song An replied that this is the shelter I can't see and can't attack, and that he's a real genius for putting the shelter in this place. Sanctuary is the most used feature of this game, as monsters cannot invade here and hands can safely heal themselves to improve armor or weapons and protect newcomers. But suddenly the girl began to call our hero by name, and he in turn slowly turned his head around because he heard a familiar voice. And the girl jumped on him and said she was glad he actually survived and that it was him. Song An didn't expect to see her here, and the girl told him that she was worried about him because there were so many monsters outside. Song An said he was fine but decided to ask how she found this place. Another guy standing near the head started saying towards our hero and the girl that it's a mistake of nature and they are too close to each other. But the girl started to reply to our hero that did he forget, because he himself asked to check it out when he created this shelter, because she is also a developer, because she studied together with Sun An at the university and work in the design department of the same company, and helps in the design of the game, is also the first and only friend of Song An in the company. And on the way she grabbed a couple of co-workers and others who were in danger, so they hid together. And the world has changed so drastically and become so horrible, so everyone feels very scared. And she can't see people like that because it's unbearable for her. They're not to blame for all this, but suddenly the leader starts saying, why are they all snot-nosed? They're the reason this happened. If they have time to deal with this shit, why don't they think about fixing it? He told them to work harder. And what did they do? And what did they do if they worked properly? This wouldn't have happened. And that his company and his money are all gone. But after hearing him say that, Song An thought he was just a greedy fool. Other employees of the company began to reply to the manager that it was not their fault and they cannot fix it. They need to die into their gender and be reasonable. But the supervisor didn't stop and kept yelling at the guys that they were a useless pile of garbage and they were all fired. After a few minutes, Song An started asking the girl if I'd had any bad luck, or if she'd met someone while walking here, someone who looked weird. But the girl started thinking about who she might meet that was weird. And another guy who was behind our hero's back asked him if he's asking about NPCs now. Video this game, they are not very many, and they have information about all levels, checkpoints, and drops, and once they find them, they will have a chance to survive. But still, They couldn't figure out how they could find them and who was doing the NPC development in the first place. But one of the guys replied that he remembered someone named Lee who was on the first level. But a little girl standing in the middle of the room suddenly shrieked the words Liu Tsuge, and how adults can have memories worse than a snail's. And suddenly the guy shouted out that it's that girl with the arrow on her head, she is an NPC. If she likes them, she can expect a reward. So the girl starts yelling back at the guy for pointing his finger at her. Hearing all this, Song An realized that this girl is a little devil, and he doesn't sleep in interaction with this type of character. The other girl leaned over to her and started saying that she didn't think she was that NPC. She was still wondering whose baby was lost, and thank heavens she was okay. The NPC began to reply to the girl that she was grateful that she was able to bring her here and that she should thank her for it. And I open my duck backpack and she starts pulling out a present for her. I was given a strange transparent sphere with a piece of paper with a compass on it. But as soon as the NPC handed the gift to the girl, Yes saw a notice on the window that she received a mini cart. And it was unbelievable to her, because she never imagined she could get her hands on such a valuable item. The other developers started screaming for everyone to watch, because he was saying that NPCs had useful gizmos. Our hero suddenly thought about the fact that she now has a map. This is a very useful feature in the game. And if he wants to attack the main tower later, he's going to need this card and he needs to find a way to get it. The other girl, however, wasted no time in leaning toward the NPCs and handing her candy and saying, "Here's some candy, she'll give her a card." Luckily, she had some candy in her pocket, so she decided to bribe the kid with it. But the NPC stuck out her tongue and said she didn't want to and wouldn't, and that she was a hypocrite. After all, she ran faster and now make it look like she was helping, and most of all, she hates people like her old hag. The girl was pissed off by the NPC's words and started calling her names, saying she was an asshole and if she tried to say it again, she'd give her a hard time. But other staff members started to stop her, saying that the NPC was their only chance for survival. The NPC in turn told them not to worry because they only saved their skinny asses and now they want the map, she won't give it to them. But as soon as the NPC turned around, the other employees started discussing the fact that they can't even talk to her, and what's there to a normal attitude. The whole room suddenly heard the voice of a leader who revealed that they were a bunch of idiots. And there's no point in explaining yourself to a child who doesn't even have milk on her lips, and you just have to take it all away from her. Why try to placate her? Why try to placate her? He doesn't care if she likes him or not. He's going to take the damn map anyway. But the NPC was scared and started to back away slowly, saying that he's a creep. But the supervisor still jumped on her and started taking her briefcase away from her so she'd give him the card. And even though she was screaming for him to let her go, the leader still insisted that she must have something else useful in her backpack and he'd take everything. But at that moment, our hero intervened in the incident and hit with all his might a fist on the face of the leader, because of which he began to lose his balance and fell on his back. He let go of the NPC, who started to fall to the side as well, but the girl picked her up just in time. Song An in turn started shouting at the leader that she was still a small child and that there was no need to use violence like always he was trying to intimidate people. This was no longer the world he was used to living in. The manager couldn't believe that this loser had hit him, and he couldn't believe he was telling him what to do. That kid is just a fictional character from the game and he still cares about her feelings. He just wants to get her card out of here and back to the normal world. But at that moment, the NPC started crying, and as soon as her scale went down to minus, she started sobbing loudly, because of which all players got a notification that the relationship NPC dropped below 0 and the launch of the Easter egg. They should not hope that this NPC is suitable for bullying, and the one who bullied him will be punished, and the punishment will be the elimination of the asylum. Turned his head on Fat couldn't believe what he'd just read. If it's true, they'll all die here. As Song An continued to look around, he couldn't figure out what was going on and where all these messages were coming from. But still, the situation was irreversible and the shelter began to fall apart little by little and the guys had seconds to do everything. During this time, the shelter will simply disappear. The stupid supervisor was dumb enough to accuse our hero of doing it. Keep yelling about how Song An is a jerk and he needs to fix things. But the hero couldn't understand why he added those eggs, because now they're all in danger. Easter eggs are when an NPC's attitude scale is negative and the closest players are awarded a punishment. And the fact that there are seconds left for everything, but still looking at another notification, the hero realized that he still has minutes and seconds to stay alive. Because the asylum continues to be liquidated, and behind the other wall are monsters who are waiting for everything to disappear so they can destroy all the players. One of the developers of this very